Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Council Chambers on this beautiful January 12th. If you've been outside, you can tell it's almost t-shirts and shorts weather. And if you're already wearing t-shirts and shorts now, you may have a few screws loose, but that's okay. I always tell my kids that because they think they're always hot. I'm like, are you sure you need to wear shorts and a t-shirt when it's minus 15? But I guess that's how they roll. So. But that with that as well, you know, it is even with the warmer weather. Again, have to bring highlight to our storm management facilities within the town of Stony Plain. Every year throughout our region here, an individual typically falls through a storm management pond. That's because they think it's solid and it's been frozen for a couple weeks, but there is moving water underneath those storm management ponds, and they're not safe. So if you want to walk and skate, definitely we do have outdoor skating areas and pathways that people can walk onto, so make sure that's just a reminder to everybody, because it's nice weather there and people seem to be outside. Please stay away from the storm management ponds. Ladies and gentlemen, members of council, we do have an agenda before you. Deputy Mayor, please.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. The Town Council adopted January 12th, 2026 regular council meeting agenda as presented.
Thank you. Administration, anything to add?
Nothing to add, Your Worship.
Okay. Thank you. With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay. That is carried. Moving on with agenda is number 3, which is the public input session. So this is the time that we allow residents to address council and share ideas, concerns that are not on the current agenda item right now. Administration, has anybody registered to speak?
Through Your Worship, we have one registered to speak this evening, Mr. Russell Graff.
Okay. Welcome, former Councillor Graff. Good to see you. Well, it doesn't matter. Wherever you're in a crowd, I can always pick you out.
Yeah, well, it's good to be back here in council chambers and see you all here, and it's been a little while, but I prepared some remarks, but now that I'm retired, I find myself procrastinating sometimes, so they didn't get out early enough that I could get them in your package, but I left a copy over here where, should I get away from these things? Where Carrie used to sit, and or I can send them to you if you just fire me an email, if you want to reflect on them further, but you know, probably most of you know that I'm a retired pastor as well, and they say if you give a pastor a microphone that it's kind of a dangerous thing. So I prepared my remarks for that very reason, so I could be kind of short even though I'm tall. And so I'll read them, and then I guess if you have any questions, that will be.
All right, so before we start, definitely members of our council want to hear the words, so if you can pull the mic closer to you, and if you can actually...
Do I need to have these?
No, just the one that's on.
The one that's on, okay.
And you just actually need to speak right into it, so it actually carries...
I thought I was
and it gets
feeding back because I was too close to it. I didn't know what was going on there.
There you go.
Okay, glad to be on the mic. Okay, so, remarks by Russ Graff to Stony Plain Town Council. Must be the right paper. Esteemed Mayor and members of council, thank you for the opportunity to share a few thoughts with you this afternoon. Thanks also for your service and willingness to serve the town in this way. I'll try to be brief in sharing a few insights and advice based on my recent campaign gleanings and the little bit of wisdom that I've gained by the grace of God. I would also like to share my well wishes and or prayers for the blessing of the mayor and council. As an elder and representative of Emmanuel Lutheran Church of Rosenthal, just outside Stony, I'd like to officially represent our church and do something that we do regularly there, and that's pray for you if that's okay with council or the mayor. Who has to say that's okay? That's okay at the end of my remarks if I say a prayer? Okay, great, thanks. Well, so first of all, I want to thank Justin Bass, Councillor Laurie, let's be formal here, for trying to get some feedback from what we gleaned on the trail. So this is kind of partly that. First, these insights then. No new taxes is number one. I don't think that's any big news, is it? I know that this is not always possible not to raise taxes, but certainly the sentiment's out there to keep them as low as possible. The current economic climate that we residents all face challenges us to tighten our belts and expect the town to do the same. Seniors like myself who are on fixed incomes are especially concerned about the size of ever-increasing raises on our tax bills. I do have some ideas, which I don't think I'll share right now, but if anybody wants to talk with me, I can be happy to do that, you know, when we have some leisure to just kick the can around a little bit and stuff, but that's not what this is about tonight. But second thing, no more raises. Most of the current council wears what I consider the stigma of self-serving raises over the last 2 terms since I was on council. Believe it or not, I think if everything went through, the compensation is now double or more than double what it was when I was on council, which I thought was adequate. And when voters hear this sort of thing, all of them found it kind of dismaying and excessive. So I think you need to know that. And I know that there's an argument to be made for people getting good people, you got to have good wages. Well, I kind of found that a little bit insulting because I think I was a good person. I was happy with the compensation before. So my advice is that you don't do any more of those. And in light of current conditions, I think you should forgo COLA for this term. That's a suggestion. But in addition, I think you might want to consider revoking your part of the compensation package, which is something like a pension equivalent. I don't know many people in part-time jobs that get pensions. And this is, I didn't talk about that with other, that's my own opinion. I didn't talk about that with other people, but it's something, it just seems to me that council needs to not treat itself better than everybody else is treated. That's my opinion. So for your consideration. Third, I had sent my request in with the words of I'd like to speak to you as an elder and maybe talk about, well, maybe I didn't mention that, but recall, you know, there's all this recall stuff going on. Now, this is kind of a joke, actually. I don't think you can even do it for a town council. But, so if you are thinking, surely you jest, well, I'm a little bit of a jester. But it's a kind of a joke that's, not likely to happen, but I use this ruse to call your attention to the election results that, in my opinion, again, do not fully reflect the desire for a more significant change, I'm trying to find of faces at the council table. I heard it a lot on the hustings and have an idea that a big reason that this desire did not bear much fruit was the large number of candidates. But just a lot of people were out there saying, we want to have more new faces on council, and I'm glad there's one. Miranda, congratulations. And I think all of you are fine people, and I don't have anything against any of you as far as that goes, but town council, other than mayor, perhaps, shouldn't be a career, I don't think, and it's good to keep mixing it up a bit, and I think the voters were feeling that. And I kind of thought about this a lot, and perhaps if all the votes that were divided among the 6 non-elected candidates went to 2 or 3 instead of 6, there would have been 2 or 3 new faces at the table instead of only 1. So that's something that I think you need to also bear in mind as you carry out your term, and I wish you every blessing in carrying out your work here, and I hope that you do a good job for us all. I believe that the election was legitimate and well run. If you think I'm not thinking that, it was, and just that maybe the results don't quite reflect the amount of discontent that I heard. So finally then, I guess I just want to extend my well wishes and prayers for you as you engage in the business of giving our town good governance. And maybe you remember something of my campaign, but it's Russ for us, for the common good, Russ for the common good. I read a book recently by a former chief rabbi of the United States, Jonathan Sacks, and it's called Morality. And his thesis was that morality comes from seeking the common good, the good of everyone. So I really, that's a little add-on to it. You won't find that in my script, but I really hope that you will do that and continue to down that path, and it'll be good for the whole community. So, then in line with the beliefs that good governance is only possible with the kind regard and respect of the governed, and the belief that you face things that are often beyond human abilities, I like to ask a prayer. My faith in God and the Bible directs me to this practice in our scriptures, which say, first of all, then I urge. First of all, that's kind of a first thing. Urge that entreaties, prayers, petitions, and thanksgivings be made on behalf of all men, and especially for kings, rulers, and all who are in authority. You are in authority in this town as counselors. So the first thing that I should do is pray for you, but I'm doing it last, so I've got it wrong already, but we'll just do the best we can with it. And it says further in that passage, which is, by the way, 1 Timothy 2, verses 1 and 3, this is good and acceptable in the sight of God, our Savior. And so let me pray with you. And if you don't pray, or if you're not a praying person, that's okay. You can just listen politely or whatever. I don't think want to force this on anyone. Or think of it as well-wishing. When I was on council, I got to go to Shikowie, and we visited the temple, right? I think it's a Shinto temple, and the priest there said, here, after we had our little tour, take these pieces of paper and you can write your wishes on them and put them in this little box by the front gate. And so they're well wishes, and I think they would call that prayers where I go, and sometimes there's a box to put your prayers in, so I thought that was interesting. But shall we pray together, or wish together? Lord, we pray and we wish and we want what's good for each person at this table. Lord, I thank you for Miranda, as she's new on the council. I pray that you would give her a good integration into the council. I pray for each one around the table, for Melanie, for Justin, for William, for Eric, for Justin, and for, Harold. I know Harold. And Lord, I pray also for the administration and staff of our town. I know the staff's been working really hard to get the snow off, and now you're melting it like crazy, and we're thankful for that too, Lord. But we just pray that you'd give wisdom for decisions that maybe are beyond what we can really know fully the implications of. And so for this council, I pray wisdom and just a nudge in the right direction if they are lacking for that. I thank you too that there is wisdom in the administration and in all of the advice that's comes from various studies and committees and boards. And so, Lord, I pray that you'd use all these things for the good of our community, for the common good. And I pray these things and thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, Council. And if you got any questions for me or you just want to tell me to go home, I will. I will have to leave because I'm volunteering at the Whispering Waters, doing a service there tonight, but I don't have to leave right away, but I have to go in a little bit, so.
Okay, well, thank you for your words and definitely your blessings to our council and to our senior administration staff, because I think, we definitely need it, because we do get a lot of eye rolls, finger pointing, and everything that we do is incorrect. But as you mentioned, and also sitting on this side of the table as a former counselor, you realize that our community is well served by these 7 members of council and all administrative staff. And definitely wanted to say appreciation that you mentioned that the election was well run. Our staff prided themselves to make sure that it was done well, followed the letter of the law, and make sure that there was little hiccups as possible, and that showed well with what happened. So thank you to our staff in that. In terms of, definitely appreciate you talking about no new taxes, but if you do, try to be minimal. I think the town of Stony Plain has operated in a fiscal conservative approach. As you know, there's lots of projects that we wanted to do when you were in council. We didn't do because we realized that the financial constraints would have been too large at that point in time. And we phased in a lot of projects, and we continue to do that. And having you to remind us that gives that clarity that we are on the right path. And our residents do appreciate the fact that we're not doing everything all at once. We're taking the conservative approach where we're phasing in a lot of projects. We're making sure that when we do projects, it's consulted with our residents. And that's usually why it takes 3 to 4 years before we actually pull a trigger on anything. So appreciate that. And I love the fact that you said, council is no better than anybody else. And that does go well to why we approved our remuneration policy as it is, so that we're no better than staff. With the remuneration policy and salary compensation for staff, there is a consultant that is hired that does a kind of regional outlook of data, what's happening there, and we try to be on the 50th percentile for our staff. And not the same with council. We did the same thing, so we took it out of our hands and not made it a political thing. Is the consultant does the same thing, does the data collection, and recommends a 50% percentile, so that we're not paying ourselves more or less. We're just like, we're taking it out of our hands. So we've taken some of your words in the past, and we've kind of melted that and made that part of our policy. So thank you for that time.
Thank
Members
you.
of council, questions of clarity and understanding, and maybe just thank the former councillor. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Russ, I just wanted to say thank you for your prayers.
Hey, talk
Sorry,
loud, because my hearing aids are busted tonight, so.
I wanted to say thank you for your prayers. It's always a humbling experience when someone prays for you, especially in sort of the context of, as you said, the authority of the position. So it always makes me think, we are doing it for, as you say, the common good. So I'll try and keep those words of wisdom in mind and act moral.
Well, you're welcome for the prayers, and I'll keep praying.
Thank you. Any other members of council? Councillor Loynes, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Russ. I really appreciate you always coming in and visiting and sharing your words of wisdom with us. It is greatly appreciated that you are comfortable enough to share what you heard on the campaign trail, as we all heard similar things but different things at the same time. So appreciate you being here to share that with us.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay. See nobody else. Definitely thank you for your time, and thank you for volunteering at our Meridian Housing Foundation.
Yeah, thanks. I wish I could stay longer. I'm interested to hear about the phasing of the recreation project, but I'll catch up with you later.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Coffee anytime. Thank you. Okay, administration, has anybody else registered to speak at public input?
Through your worship, no one else has registered this evening.
Thank you. Seeing that there's nobody else in the gallery, we will move on with our agenda, which is number 4, which is presentations and delegations. We have nothing scheduled tonight, so moving on to number 5, which is statutory public hearings. Nothing scheduled tonight as well. So moving on to number 6 is the adoption of council minutes from December 8th. Members of council, you had the opportunity to read them. Councillor Laurie for the motion, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move Town Council approve December 8, 2025 regular council meeting minutes as presented.
Thank you. Members of council, any errors, omissions, questions for clear understanding? Okay. Seeing none, before, I think these are clerical errors that can be easily moved without having a motion. The first one is page 8. Sorry, I moved my page numbers. Page 8, and that is from the TELUS Senior Strategy Manager is Tom Hoovland, H-U-V-L-A-N-D, and not a U. Okay. And also page 11, Deputy Meyer, Eric Meyer. And then we just had, we're missing an A versus an E there, so if we can have that, so those don't change the intent or the actual minutes itself. It's just a clerical error, so do we need to make a motion to make those adjustments? So, Council Lori, so it would be as amended? Okay. Members of Council, any other errors, omissions, or questions for clarity, understanding? Okay. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that is carried. Okay, move on to number 7, which is our council boards and committee minutes. We have, actually, we're dealing with a couple of them. So 7.1 is the GCC, 7.2 is the Meridian Housing Foundation, and 7.3 is the Planning Advisory Committee. Councilor Pechko?
Yes, thank you, Worship. The town council received the council board and committee minutes for information.
Okay, thank you, members of council. So any questions, comments, anything that you want to highlight out of those minutes? Councilor Anderson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the council representative, please, on the Meridian Housing Foundation. Looking at the meeting minutes dated October 2nd. This is page 23. Item 6.1 notes that the remuneration rates for board members have been increased by $50. Just looking to understand what the rate is now with that increase.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councillor Anderson. So the meeting is now $100 and the workshops is $150.
Thank you.
Any more questions for clarity and understanding?
Your Worship, sorry if I can add. Also, that was because there was mixed rates and it was agreed that all meetings, whether special board meeting or regular board meeting, should be treated the same, as well as special workshops and regular workshops. So that would have included strat planning or any other type of building when we try to bring in consultants and things like that, that it would all fall under the same umbrella.
Thank you. Councilor Lori?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick question to any one of the representatives on the Growth and Commerce Committee. I see these minutes are from all the way back in August, August 20, 2025, and I see at the end it does not state when the next meeting is. I would think we would have had at least 2 meetings since then. I'm just wondering if we can get an update on that.
Okay, thank you. So that'll be Councilor Anderson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Lori, for the questions. I believe that no meetings were scheduled because the next anticipated meeting would be after the election. And so we have met since, and we do have additional meetings that are scheduled, I think every 2 months, I believe, for the rest of this year. The minutes that would outline when those meetings are just aren't presented here in council this evening.
Okay, thank you. And just provide, when was the last meeting?
Sorry, the last meeting was December 17th.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Pechko, you had your hand up? No? Okay. Okay, Councilor Anderson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do want to ask, and I'm not sure if this is to you or administration, just a list, if we could, of council-appointed boards, committees, and so on that currently provide remuneration beyond our existing council remuneration. So the Meridian Housing, obviously, we heard this evening, but are there any others that provide additional remuneration to appointed members?
Okay. Do you want that information right now, or do you want to, because I think I can rattle off a few on my head. I'm not too sure if I get them all, though.
If you have a few, I would appreciate that, and then if there's anything missing, certainly an email follow-up would be appropriate.
Okay. Aerial Utilities provides remuneration. TransAlta Tri-Leisure Center provides remuneration. Yellowhead Regional Library provides remuneration if you're on the executive. The Water Services Commission provides remuneration. And the Meridian Housing Foundation. Yeah, the Meridian Housing Foundation. The Subdivision and Appeal, Subdivision Development Appeal Hearing, SAB. I think that's all. But I'll go through my notes and I'll look if there's anywhere else. Any members of council sit on a board that pays remuneration that did not mention? Nope. Okay, I think that's it. Any other questions for clarity and understanding? Yeah, I do have a question, page 24, to the member representative, the Meridian Housing Foundation. Under 6.4, where it says the Horizon View Lodge for 2026 budget, that definitely there's a layout of the cost for the rental of the suites and et cetera. The last sentence on 6.4 is that this will result in a municipal recreation of $558,333. So I'm asking, is that for a full year of operating the Horizon View Lodge when it's open, or is it just for the time that it will be opened later this year till the end of December calendar 2026?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to the rest of council, that would be for a full year, but I can confirm when I meet with Horizon tomorrow.
Okay. Okay.
Or sorry, when I meet with Meridian tomorrow, and I'll get an update for you. But I believe that is for the full year. Horizon View Lodge is not currently open. We are just setting the prices for the rooms once they do become available. We are not looking at opening until further later on this year.
Thank you. So that will be prorated, so the 558 that is required will be prorated at half or quarter or whatever time?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. And can the member representative inform members of council, when does the requisition have to come in to our offices so that they can actually get into our tax bills? Do we?
I will have to get back to you on that one.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's all the questions that I had. Any other members of council have questions for clear understanding and just highlights? Okay, see none. We'll call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to number 8, which is our bylaws. And moving to our bylaws, this is the Community Standards Bylaw, first reading. As members of council that have been here for at least a term, this is something that we do on a regular basis. And the Community Standards Bylaw is how we expect everybody to operate and gives homeowners and property owners the ability to enjoy their property with least effect on the neighbors and surrounding neighbors and area. Go ahead, administration.
Good evening, Your Worship, Council, Senior Administration, and members of the public. Thank you for allowing me the time to present the proposed Community Standards Bylaw for request of first reading. The desired outcomes of this review were to ensure the bylaw continues to meet the enforcement needs of the town, communicates standards clearly to residents, contains regulations which are consistent across the region, while also ensuring fines are consistent with or within the middle range of comparators. Administration reviewed 9 neighboring communities' bylaws. These communities included the City of Edmonton, the City of Calgary, the City of Fort Saskatchewan, Strathcona County, City of St. Albert, City of Spruce Grove, City of Leduc, City of Beaumont, and Parkland County. The legislative review included the Municipal Government Act, Agricultural Pest Act, Weed Control Act, Land Use Bylaw, and the Snow Removal Policy. To ensure organizational continuity, the following groups provided feedback on recommended bylaw amendments: Planning, Operations, Parks and Leisure, Legislative Services, and the RCMP. While the red line copy of the bylaw before you appears to have many revisions, a large portion of recommended alterations are language changes for public clarity and improved structure for easier navigation for residents to access information with greater ease. Recommended amendments also include the removal of content captured in other bylaws, the removal of redundant sections, and section changes to align with regional enforcement approaches. We are now happy to answer any questions you may have regarding the Community Standards Bylaw. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much. And look, the fan just went off, which is good. Now we can hear a little bit better. So thank you. Members of council, again, this is for first reading. There are a lot of minor changes that are suggested by administration. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to look through it. Any questions for clear understanding on what we've been presented? Not at this presentation today because it was very high level, but everything that we've read on the agenda package. Okay, I have a question to the administration. In terms of the suggested changes, and it was in consultation with Parks, Operation, and RCMP. So if these changes were to go through, I guess the idea is to make it more efficient for our community to be able to understand and enforce those community standards bylaws?
Through you, Your Worship, yes, that is correct. To make it more streamlined, more effective, and to address the concerns that we've seen within the community across those different departments.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to administration. When I looked through the red line, and I just went to our website to confirm, I believe this was scheduled to come into Council 2022, I think was my understanding, 2018. It looks like was the last time this was passed with a 4-year revision date. I just wonder if administration can provide some comments on why it's coming in now as opposed to 4 years previously. And the context there for me is there was just a lot of information here to digest and try to sort of put some pieces in and a number of different changes, and wonder if we had a review 4 years prior, if it would have been a little bit easier to digest some of the changes that are proposed here this evening.
Okay, go ahead, administration.
Your Worship, through to Councillor Anderson, certainly I'll answer that question for you. Several of our bylaws have changed over time, and some of that could have included within that time period and slightly after that time period. Definitely, some of our legislations have changed also, so we may have captured that if it was to come back within that 4-year time frame. May have had to bring the bylaw back a little bit sooner in order to put the changes in that legislatively or with our other bylaws to align and make sure that we're able to enforce the bylaw. So it may have resulted in minimal changes, it may have resulted in the same changes.
Okay, through you, Mr. Mayor, if I may, just the second piece of that, and I think this is something I asked at the end of last term as well, just mechanisms to ensure our bylaws are coming back to council within the time frame outlined. This one was 2022. Certainly, we're now 2026, and usually our bylaws looking at a 4 to 5 year term, and so this would be nearly double what that time frame is, and so. Maybe not even specific to this one, but just a greater understanding through you, Mr. Mayor, to administration on what process we have in place to ensure these are brought back in a timely manner and they're not coming back sort of at double the proposed timeline when it was initially passed.
Thank you, Your Worship. I can speak to that. So, yeah, specifically, as per, process specific, Legislative Services tracks and maintains both policy, administrative policy, council policy, and council bylaw registry, so to speak, for when reviews are required as per, what's written in the bylaw or the policy. So that's, that is tracked. That information is provided out to into the organization as to when those are coming due. Typically done, frankly, right around now for anything that's coming due in that particular year. So the process is there. For when we end up, missing the dates, whether it's honestly been a year or more. The base reality there is it becomes a capacity issue. And if we're able to, and if it's timely, or if the circumstance requires specifically, they will be addressed. And from time to time, the answer is that it's either not priority, and the capacity isn't there, and the time and effort is diverted to other work, so to speak. For that note, Your Worship, and through the rest of the council, again, specifically had a dialogue with one of the general managers today, just about that. Literally going through the list, here's the things that are coming due, which ones are high priority, which ones are medium, which ones are maybe a bit on the lower end, and then, decisions and directions given, and we move forward. That's the basic and straightforward response, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Councillor Newbergall?
Thank your worship. Through you to administration. I appreciate that administration has reviewed the 9 neighboring communities' bylaws, legislation, but just maybe for the new kid on the block, if you can just kind of highlight for me, what does like consulting, planning, operations, parks, leisure, legislative, like what does that consultation process look like?
Okay, go ahead, administration.
Through your worship to Councillor Nearball. Our process is that we review the community's bylaws, we compare it to our current bylaw. We also keep track of the complaints that we receive to make sure that our bylaws are still currently meeting the needs within our community that we're hearing from our community members. Once the process begins, we then meet with other members of administration, so some of those other departments that we listed, and have conversations with them regarding the bylaw to see what suggestions they have, what needs they see could be changed, what needs they've identified in their scope of practice that should be applied to this bylaw.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
First, just clarity. We are allowed to ask questions on the red line item. Okay. Okay. Thank you. I'll just tag on to Councillor Niebergall's questions in regards to the review through you to administration. I'm just seeking some rationale why these particular neighboring communities were selected. And I don't want to prompt a specific answer or anything, but I just note that they're all cities and none of them are towns. So maybe if that could be weaved in there as a part of the answer.
Yes, and there's a couple of counties as well. So they're not all cities. Administration, go ahead.
Through you, your worship, to Deputy Mayor Meyer. When reviewing these bylaws, I look at neighboring communities that are within our jurisdictional boundaries, so communities that are close to us, such as the City of Edmonton. I also look at comparating of size as well, so for example, City of Leduc. I also look, and City of Beaumont, to be honest. I also compare the city's bylaws and how recent they have been updated, so that I am comparing legislation that is relevant to the current times for our review, as well as their issues that they're seeing and things that are regulating within their bylaws as well, to look for alignment.
Other one, if I could. And I'm going to make some page references to the red line version, because that's where I found it. First to page 40, and it's 2.11.0. It speaks about the designated officer, and I can wrap my head around the rationale for maybe the change in that regard. Certainly some efficiencies might be found that way. But I'd just like to pair that with page 56, and it's 4.4.2 under, I believe the heading is request for review by council. And so I'm just, for clarity for myself and anybody potentially listening, and maybe I'm just not understanding how this works, but the CAO designates a person. It could be an officer such as yourself, as well as anyone they may designate. And then just going to the review by council, so it implies that there's still an opportunity for individuals to bring their potential, what do you want to call it, not a complaint, but their challenge to potentially a ticket or a violation. And it says to be reviewed by council, and I'm just kind of trying to pair that with, if we're designating these responsibilities over to the CAO, and in the wording of 4.4.2, it also says it's up to the designating officer where they potentially take their challenge. So maybe just help me understand that.
Okay, I think there's two different trains of thought there. So on page 40, in terms of designated officer, is like by the town manager appointing an individual to do the job.
Yeah.
So that's not appealable by council.
Right.
So that is one in itself. And on page 56, under 4.2, is that if there was an appeal, so if somebody has a ticket, so this is another process. So this is not appealing who is appointed to be. Because as we know, sitting around this table, when we appoint and hire somebody as a CPO, they're appointed and approved by the provincial government. So this is an appeal of an order. So for example, if one of our peace officers gave them a weed notice and they don't agree with it, then they can appeal to them. If they don't like their scenario or the resolution, then they can appeal to council, etc. So this is not appealing who the CEO designated to do that.
No, I understood that. Sorry. I pointed out the 2.11, the designated officer, because it just makes in 4.4.2, it does say, or the appointed designated. So I was just maybe making note that maybe I was unintentionally linking those two things. But so then the question then is still, somebody gets a notice or a violation notice, they would first initially make an appeal to the appointed designate, which would be potentially an officer. And then from there, do they have recourse to council, or do they have to request to the CAO or to the appointed designate for the opportunity to appeal to council?
Okay, so I think that appointed designate is not for us, it's for that individual. So if that, so if that individual received a ticket and they wanted to appeal it, and they can't be here in person, they can designate somebody to speak on their behalf.
Okay.
So it's not an appointment of our side.
Okay, I'm seeing, okay. So then the simple thing would be a resident would still be able to appeal their violation to council. They'd have that opportunity.
Yes, and then if they cannot make it here in person, then they can appoint a designate to speak on their behalf.
Okay, thank you for helping me understand.
So I think it was not the same designated officer versus a designated person, officer for them.
All right, thank you. That clarifies that for me.
Yeah. Yes, I think we got that cleared up now, so I think. Any else, any questions regarding this? Again, this is a lot of things, so I'll go to Councillor Laurie, and then we'll move that back to Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Appreciate the presentation this evening. I'm currently looking at page 60 of the package. It is the chart for the fees. I do have two different questions on this. So the first is in respect to the steps. And so it shows the specified penalty, then it has the second offense in the same calendar year, and then third or subsequent offense in the same calendar year. I went searching on page 39 in the definitions for calendar year, because my question relies, does that mean a 365-day period from the time the first penalty was received, or is that a calendar year as in a typical calendar, a January to December? And I ask that because when I look at some of these, for instance, the application of graffiti or a spit in public, I'm wondering if somebody's on their second one on December 5th and then on January 30th they're caught again, have they reset back down to a first offense? So if there's just a clarity on that, and then maybe just some feedback that maybe we need to look at adding a definition on it.
Thank you. Administration?
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Laurie. Yes, that interpretation would be correct, that in that example, if somebody was receiving a ticket from us in regards to spitting in public in December 5th, and then say January 6th, we're dealing with them again, it would be a new calendar year, so they would not receive the second offense.
Okay, thank you. And then I guess I'll go further on that. Is there a justification as to why we use calendar year rather than 1 year period? Like if when we look at many of these offenses, the steps in the penalty would essentially indicate that if it is a reoccurring offense within a time period, the penalty is to be more severe. But if we're automatically setting that on December 31st of every year, that seems to defeat the purpose.
Yeah, I think that's a good conversation piece, and then I think we just, for example, we'll take this large snowfall. If somebody receives the first ticket, December 5th, and receives the second ticket December 24th, and then their third ticket in January would be their first ticket if we reset the calendar year. But it's still the same snow season, which we've had to deal with them within the last month. So some clarity on that?
Your Worship, through to Councillor Lorry also, certainly appreciate the commentary that has been provided and do understand that situation, specifically with snow removal when we're in a 4-month period. You can definitely have a reset a few days after your second or third offense or first offense. So certainly something we can take back and bring back for second and third.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for pointing out.
Appreciate it, thank you. And I think
One more?
that, yeah, I think that does speak to the spirit of it, is that a step penalty is if you are continually reoffending within a period of time. The other question that I had is, I noticed most of them in the step essentially follow what I'd call a 3-strike rule. Your first offense is the smaller fine, second offense is a middle fine, and then the third offense is the most expensive fine. But for instance, in 3.5.1, the application of graffiti, I see it's $1,000 for a first offense, $2,000 for a second offense, but then the third offense is still $2,000. So there's only a few of them that follow this, but I'm just wondering if there is a reason why, for instance, that or assault on an officer or something like that stops the increase in the fine at the second offense and does not go to an even larger offense or larger fine for the third offense.
Okay, go ahead.
Through your worship to Councillor Lorry, thank you for the question. In reviewing the fee structure, the fine schedules of other neighboring communities, I noted that the ranges could be quite different. So some communities had a lower fine, some communities had a higher fine. And for the ones that do not exceed the $2,000, that was the cap that I observed in other communities, was that $2,000. So in trying to stay consistent with regional comparators, that was why I did that. Definitely a good point for discussion, however.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that, and I'll probably save maybe a little more commentary for second or third reading on this, but there are some pretty serious offenses on here, for instance, such as assault of an officer and that. I'd be curious, and I don't know if administration would be able to bring back any information on provincial statutes of comparable. So obviously there would be an assault on an officer in a provincial statute as well as in our bylaw, and I'd be curious to see like what would be an equitable fine if you were to assault an officer, say an RCMP officer, or so on and so forth. So, yeah, again, just a little bit of commentary tonight. Maybe there's some more information that can come back for second or third reading on some of those more serious offenses and whether they would merit a larger fine for a third occurrence.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I do appreciate Councillor Lorry's discourse there, and the assault with the officer was one that I had noted, I feel like is low. Like, I feel like we need to set some sort of a precedent as a deterrent there, and I don't know, again, what the equivalent is, provincially and so on, but, do wonder, like, this would be a municipal levied fine, but I would assume that we would be pursuing charges as well in a situation like this, that this would be as well as any court-ordered or mandated measures. Is that fair?
Okay, administration.
Thank you, through your worship, to Councillor Anderson. If a peace officer were to be assaulted, I would suspect that we would go through the motions with the RCMP, and the ultimate laying of charges would be outside of our scope of authority. That would be determined by the RCMP based on the statement of facts of the occurrence. As far as the assault of if it didn't meet the threshold for a criminal code charge, because assaulting of a peace officer is a criminal code offense under Canada law, that would be, I think, when we would probably explore issuing a fine under the bylaw.
Okay. Just to follow up then, Mr. Mayor, is there a maximum that we're allowed to levy in these fines? Are we limited to a certain amount, or was this number just based on the regional scan and comparator community scans?
Okay, go ahead.
Your Worship, through to Councillor Anderson, I'm not aware that we do have a maximum or a minimum. These are just based on our comparators and what the, I guess to use a business term, what the market threshold is.
Okay. Thank you for that. I do have a couple of, I hesitate to even ask because I find it quite humorous, to be honest with you, but I'm going to ask anyway. Page 71, 3.7.2, starts with no person shall spit on any street, but then goes on to say that this does not apply to an organized sporting event governed by the rules of conduct of said sporting event. Just, I'm curious, what sporting events are legislated spitting events? Not something I've ever heard of before.
Go ahead, Administration.
Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Anderson. I'm not very well versed on all of the sports. I've watched a few hockey games where I've seen folks spitting in hockey, so I can't speak to all of the sports that potentially we could see that. To be brutally honest, unfortunately, I would suspect something like spitting on a bench in hockey may be acceptable in certain sporting parameters, or perhaps some more contact sports. I apologize, I'm not well versed enough.
No, I certainly appreciate that. As it reads to me, there would be some sort of rule in said sporting event that governs spitting. And so to me, I was just going, I don't know of any, yes, you see it in baseball, you see it in hockey, you see it in football, but I've never seen a rule necessarily that says thou shall spit in this context, but not that context. Anyway, just an interesting one that I was trying to understand. Do have one more just for consideration. I know this is just first reading, but just the next page, 3.7.14. This is in relation to disturbing donation bin sites, and maybe just the teacher and me, but scavenge tends to be related to refuse, garbage, scavenging through discarded and unwanted materials, and I would suggest that donation bins are items that still have some value, and so scavenge here just didn't sit well for me. I don't have anything to offer in terms of different verbiage, but just something for consideration as we go back prior to second and third reading.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Councillor Loyens.
Thank you, Worship. Councillor Laurie brought it to attention, so I will bring it back in second reading in regards to the non-increase in certain fines.
Okay, thank you. Right, any other questions for clear understanding? As I mentioned, there is quite a bit, so go ahead, Councillor Niebuhr.
Thank you, Worship. Mine is just actually a question in terms of, speaking of the teacher in me, like proper capitalization of things. How picky are we in first reading? Maybe somebody can school me.
Yeah, if you notice, if you definitely can send an email to our staff and they'll rectify it. Usually the bylaw does not become invalid because we didn't properly capitalize something. Again, there's a lot to go through in terms of the community standards bylaw, and sometimes we'll pick it up and sometimes we will not. But it does not null and void the bylaw. So if you see any, definitely send it in quickly. Thank you. Okay, any more questions for clarity and understanding on the bylaw?
Your Worship, maybe just a quick comment on capitalization. So, I would say generally, or if not, almost all the time, words that are included in the definitions will typically be capitalized in bylaws, typically. So sometimes it looks a little weird or it might look a little funny, but that's how I think that's the basic approach. And Your Worship, as you had mentioned, it would be pretty serious for a judge to rule or overthrow a bylaw based on some capitalization. So if you notice something you want to send it in, we'll take a look for sure.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for clear understanding for first reading? Okay. No, I do have a kind of a question here to ask administration staff. So in terms of the review of the other bylaws that was considered, let me just pull that up. And the fact that our fines or offenses that were listed mentioned by Councilor Laurie on page 60 was based on kind of the average or the norm of what other municipalities were charging. So to make sure that trying to be fair. Did anyone have a clause in there that kind of voids this 1, 2, 3 strike penalty if there'd been a consistent or prolific, of a person that does not abide to their community standards bylaw? Right now, perfect example, let's say unsightly yards and grass cutting. At 2022, they had 2 citations and they were fined. It happened. 2023, they had another 3. 2024, they had 2. At some point, is there a clause that we can put in there that says after X number of times, you should not have to follow this policy anymore because obviously you know it and you're taking advantage of it and you're not being the community-minded person that you're supposed to be.
Through to you, Your Worship. Thank you for the question. I have to come back to, with further information on that. I'd have to look for that section specifically when I was reviewing the bylaws, because to be honest, I don't recall. Just to provide a little bit more information for clarity for repeat offenses when it comes to something such as an unsightly file, our officers do a multiple step approach. So if using the example of unsightly, if we have a property that's unsightly, our typical practice is that we would get in touch with the property owner or the occupant, issue a warning, provide a timeline for compliance. If compliance is not met, we would then issue an order, timeline for compliance under the Municipal Government Act. If it's not met by that point, then we have the ability to go in with a contractor and remedy the contravention. Through that process, there are fines that can be levied as well for failing to abide by the order as well. So throughout the process, they could levy potentially more fines. It's quite rare that we would see that multiple times in 1 year. Usually, once folks have been held accountable for the cleanup costs and the fines, we do typically see improvement in this situation, but I appreciate that, and I will definitely look into that.
Thank you. Councilor Lori, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Sorry, there's one more that popped into my head here just as I was doing a bit of scrolling. I'm referencing page 68. It's the recreational vehicles on a premise or property with residential district, 3.1.4. I do recall at some point in time we talked about that we have a few different essentially condominium areas within the town in which they have congregated parking of their recreational vehicles on a single lot. I know there was a discussion around that. I don't know that we did end up implementing something somewhere, but I would expect to see that referenced here, and I don't. So I'm just wondering, is that something that we need to add into this bylaw under 3.1.4, or does that exist somewhere else that allows that to occur?
Yes, I think previous council, we approved the land use zoning, which we allowed that in that zone.
Your Worship, through to Councilor Laurier, we can certainly look into that, but my interpretation would be when the development permit was issued and they were given those permissions to put their RVs on that particular lot, that would be a permitted use under the land use bylaw and not something that we would go out and enforce. If they were parking their RV in that location outside of that particular approved area, then certainly our enforcement would hold true.
Okay, thank you. And then so for the public or the lay person reading this document, should there be a caveat in here that would state something like, a letter E, unless otherwise allowable under the land use bylaw? Is that something we need to put in here? Or because we have it existing elsewhere, it doesn't need to be reflected in here?
Your Worship, through to Councilor Laurier, I would suggest because we currently have it in another place within the town, our officers do chat with planning quite often, and it's almost falls into that redundant category if we were to conclude it here.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions for clear understanding for first reading? Okay, see none. Thank you, administration, for doing the review and bringing back the suggestions and answering some of our questions, and hopefully we get some a little more clarity before second and third reading. We'll move on to Councilor Loynes for the motion, please.
The Town Council give first reading to bylaw 2733/PS/26, a bylaw respecting community standards.
Okay. Thank you. Members of council, any questions, comments, and debate on the motion to accept for first reading? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay, that is carried. Okay, moving on to number 9, which is our business items. So 9.1 is the recreational facility project update. Go ahead, administration.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. So just a quick update on the recreation facility. Some of council were able to go to the facility in October and have a little walk around. I think those that were there have noticed a little bit of change to the site. More steel has gone up, a little bit more brick has gone up, but essentially what you saw is essentially what is at the facility at this moment. So just a quick update for you. So again, just a reminder of our project timeline. So project was approved in April 2024. We went to construction award in September of that same year. We did groundbreaking, which the previous council was involved with in October of 2024. And then fairly shortly after, we started with some site work in November of 2024. Winter happens, we jump back out to 2025, spring 2025, they're going full on, and construction continued through the year 2025. September 2026, we are proposing the curling club, so that's this year, having the curling ice in, and the curling club being able to start putting that ice in and being prepared for their season to start, with a full opening of the building to the public in Q4 2026. So just a quick, what's been completed to date. There's a lot of work involved in some of these completions. So it may seem like a small list, but there's certainly a lot of work that happens with respect to this small list. Site prep, as mentioned, that was basically November all through the spring. And that was making sure that the site was ready down to the clay so that we could get the proper foundations in view. Recall there was a large mound on the rec facility site, which is now on the north part of that property. The utilities certainly servicing the site. It took a lot of work to get the water, sewer, and connected, and also we just had our gas utility actually installed late last year. Parking lot, we did get the parking lot. They did want to get it paved, but it got to a point where compromising the asphalt was a bit of a concern, so we didn't pave, but it's ready to be paved in the spring of this year. And you do see the light standards up, and some of them have been energized to try and protect that area in terms of vandalism and theft. The pre-eng building, so if you have been driving by, certainly it used to just be concrete and brick, and now we've started to see the pre-eng beams go up. And this next phase will be putting the tin on that pre-eng. I believe they have started putting the roof on already, so certainly it's starting to move forward. And then mechanical work, when you see the orange tarps and everything that's been tarped up, there's heat going in there, so they're starting the mechanical and electrical work on the interior of the building. So this next quarter, pre-eng building likely to be completed. The interior slab, they'll start heating up and getting the frost out of the subfloor that's in the dirt floor. That's basically what you saw when you walked around. So they'll heat that up and they'll make sure that the frost is out, and they'll start doing the pour of the slab. And then mechanical, electrical continues, and then they start getting into some more of the finishing work on the interior once the building is locked up. And before we get to questions, Mr. Mayor, we do have the time-lapse video. So this will be from the start of the project to today. So, Mr. Mayor, happy to answer any questions if council may have.
Okay. Thank you for the update and presentation, and definitely really enjoy watching that time lapse. You actually don't realize how much work is actually happening there because you don't kind of see the day-to-day activities, but when you actually see it in the time lapse, you say, wow, we didn't realize I put 3 walls up in the last 2 weeks. Okay. Members of council, any questions for clarity and understanding? Councillor Loynes, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to administration, it was great to see the list of what's been completed to date, but could you just elaborate on whether we're on budget, on time, and if we're happy where we're at right now?
Go ahead.
Your Worship, through to Councillor Loynes. Certainly, we're about 47%, roughly 50% complete on the project. Things can speed up, obviously. You put a big parking lot in, that changes that percentage quite a lot. So certainly there's a bit of work left to be done on the building. I'm happy with where we're at time-wise and project costing-wise. We're certainly, there's not been, I don't want to jinx it, but I think we're trending in the right direction. Let's just put it that way. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions for clear understanding? Councillor Anderson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and certainly appreciate the on time, on budget. That's always great to hear. Just looking at our lead sheet, page 91, second last paragraph there, specific to a grant that was applied for. Amazing how time flies, October 16th, 2024, going back 15 months. If I remember correctly, this was one of those ones we had to apply sort of before we broke ground. Is that, instead of suggesting, I'll just ask for clarity. Can administration just provide some insight onto the status of the grant? Obviously, we see that hasn't been successful as of yet, but just some commentary. Are we still hopeful? Has sort of the timeline for that one passed, and we're just sort of waiting for the no to come, if you will, but just some thoughts on that particular grant process.
Go ahead.
Your Worship, through to Councillor Anderson. So certainly this is the second time we've applied for that grant. We did apply for the grant prior to Council's approval of the project, and we did apply at that point. I think it was about between 20 and 30 million is what we were asking for, and we got a not successful with that particular grant application. There was not a stipulation that we could not apply again, and this particular grant, you can be in construction and apply for the project. So a lot of the other grants that we do try to seek, you can't spend before you get approval. With this one, it's not the case. So we did spend, we did knock it down to the geothermal and some of the energy efficiency components that we've got in the building. And so $6,000 is what we asked for on this particular grant. We did have an election in very shortly after the submission, or tight to that. So that stalled things. We do reach out on occasion to ask if there's a status update. We do track that particular fund, and there have been some announcements lately related to that funding. We have reached out to the MLA in Edmonton related to this, but at this point we have not heard either way if we're successful or not on this particular grant. I appreciate it has been some time. The emails that we do get back is when they have notification, they'll notify myself or the manager of finance.
Perfect. And just a quick follow-up, if I may, Mr. Mayor. I think I heard the MLA in Edmonton. Is this a provincial or federal grant?
Your Worship, to Councillor Anderson, sorry, I apologize, the MP in Edmonton.
Okay, thank you for the clarity. I do wonder, Mr. Mayor, is there any advocacy work that we can be doing? I do believe this was raised with our local member of parliament as well, but is there any ongoing advocacy, whether yourself, Mr. Mayor, or administration, that we can be doing to improve our chances of being successful with this particular grant?
Yes, go ahead. I think the last meeting that we had was one of the staffers from the MP's office, and they were checking into it, and there was no feedback yet as to if we had been approved or denied. So I think the continued advocacy is definitely, if we see our MP and members of the government of Alberta, please ask that question. Administration, anything else to follow up on?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Just along that line, so yes, there has been awareness brought to both our Member of Parliament here in Stony Plain, as well as the current Member of Parliament in Edmonton that sits on the government side and within the cabinet of the Government of Canada. The one thing I will point out, just make comment on this one, one of the particular challenging aspects of this particular grant in relation to many others that you will see is, there's typically a opening day, a cutoff day, X amount of dollars have been dispersed and the grant is closed. That's not been the case with this one, good or bad. It's kind of like an open-ended, then there was some funding added in one of the federal budgets to add more money to the grant fund, but it's not been super clean or clear as to, I'm sure if you wanted to, you could probably find out how much has been dispersed, but it's not as clean and clear as some of the other, whether they're federal or provincial grants. So it has been ongoing. We do stay in touch. We do ask, all of that, but it is a bit of an odd process on this one.
Keep your fingers crossed, that's correct. All right, anything else? Okay. Any more questions for clear understanding from members of council? Okay. Seeing none, maybe just a question, maybe an update of the curling rink. I think just provide how that's going in the conversations with our partner there with the Westwich Curling Club.
Your Worship, certainly staff are in dialogue with them quite frequently, especially leading into this project. We're only a few short months away from occupying the building. So definitely there's been a lot of dialogue. They do have a new general manager that is assisting the curling club to get some of their sponsorship and other grants related to equipment to go into the building. So they've definitely got a point person now. It's not just the board of directors working on that level of work. And the manager of programs and services is definitely talking with them. They've had a couple meetings now related to a lease agreement related to the building, and we'll have that finalized fairly shortly with respect to expectations and how the facility will operate with the lease agreement with the curling club.
Okay, thank you. Once more, any more questions for clear understanding? And definitely if something comes up, definitely members of council can send an email in if there's something pops up or somebody that's been participating, watching the YouTube video that, hey, maybe this is a question, definitely forward those on to our staff and then those can be answered at that time as well. Okay, I see no more hands up, so I'll go to Councillor Neebogel.
Thank you, Worship. I move that the Town Council accept the Recreation Facility Project Update Report for information.
Thank you. Any debate on the motion to accept for information? Call the question, all in favor? That is carried. Moving on to 9.2, which is the 2025 external audit planning. So go ahead, administration.
Thank you. Good evening, Your Worship and Council. The External Audit Planning Report is an annual item that is brought before Council that outlines what the auditor has planned in regards to the upcoming audit and the annual financial statements. This plan is created subsequent to the interim audit, which occurred in December 2025. The audit plan is standard due to no concerns outlined through the interim audit. The plan outlines the timing, scope, materiality, and deliverables of the audit. The auditor is appointed by Council, therefore reports directly to Council. Metrics Group is the appointed auditor for the 2025 year end. A request for proposal process occurred in the spring of 2025, and as a result, Council appointed Metrics Group for a 3-year term with an option to extend for an additional 3 years starting the year end of 2025. The auditors work closely with financial services to provide them with the information that they require to complete a successful audit process while reporting directly to Council. The plan outlines the scope and timing of the audit. The auditors provide an opinion on the financial statements as well as completes the financial information return to Municipal Affairs. The Metrics Group was on site in December to complete the interim audit, and the audit team will be back for a week in March to complete the audit. Subsequently, Metrics Group will be presenting the audited financial statements to Council at the end of April.
Okay, anything else to add? Thank you. Members of Council, again, this is a yearly thing that we need to do as part of good governance, is to understand who our auditor is, and definitely as mentioned by the general manager, or the manager, that we went to request for proposals, and we did get a proposal, and we chose to go with metrics. So, questions for clarity and understanding? Okay. Yep, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
I'm just seeking clarity from administration, but while reading the agenda package, it did mention that it potentially would look at some other organizations that we are within our purview. Never mind. I will just save that one for a question offline.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, definitely just send that out, and we'll just get that answered back to you. Okay, any more questions for clear understanding? Okay, I look forward to the conversation and the presentation from our auditor, and the conversation in closed session as part of our good governance as well. Councillor Anderson, for the motion, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move that Town Council accept the 2025 External Financial Audit Planning Report for information this evening.
Okay. Thank you. Members of Council, any questions, comments, debate on the motion to accept for information? See none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay. That is carried. And move on to 9.3, which is the Citizens at Large Board appointments. Go ahead, administration.
Thank you, through your worship, to all of council. After our organizational meeting in November, we did have some vacancies on some of our council committees, and the recruitment remained open. Since then, we have received a couple applications for our Subdivision and Development Appeal Board. We reviewed the applications, conducted interviews, and are recommending appointment of those two members to fill the vacancies. We also received a recommendation from the Pioneer Museum for their board member appointment to the Culture and Tourism Roundtable, and are seeking council's appointment of that position as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the administration's work to continue to fill the vacancies we have on our boards and committees. Members of council, any questions regarding what we read in our agenda package? Councillor Lowry, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Page 107 in regards to the SDAB vacancies. I see one is being filled as a one-year term, first term. The other is being filled as a three-year term, first term. Just wondering if we can get some context around that.
Okay. Go ahead, administration.
Thank you, through your worship, to Councillor Lowry. So shortly after our organizational meeting, we had a resignation of one of our current members due to a relocation out of our community, and so our bylaw requires us to complete the fulfillment of that term, and so one of the members is fulfilling that term.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a good question. Any other questions for clear understanding? See none. Councillor Meyer, Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. The Town Council appoint Johan Nieburg and Ethan Widgelins to the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board, and Heather Monahan to the Culture and Tourism Roundtable.
Okay, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Members of Council, any questions, comments, and debate on the motion? See none, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Moving on with our agenda number 10, which is council discussion. So this is the time that we allow members of council to bring up anything that's pressing on their committees or boards that they want to update council, or just anything that they want to share what they heard from residents, or just any general knowledge that they think would be beneficial to members of council. We'll start with Councilor Plechko.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I just want to make a comment this evening to our Public Works team. Even though there's a bit of backlash for some of the snow, but we've had a record snowfall. I've heard a lot of good compliments about what is going on as well, so I think we pass the good compliments on. We always will have a little bit of turbulence when it comes to snow removal. We can't please everybody when it comes to that, and I can speak firsthand of it, knowing that sitting in an operator's seat, you will please nobody at any time. So congratulations to this team that has missed maybe 1 or 2 days, but been at the seat the whole time trying to keep our town moving, and I encourage them to keep working forward. Thank you very much for that.
Councillor Loyens.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to remind our residents about the indoor walking that is going on at Heritage Park. It started back on January 6th, and you can join Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. And that is all.
Thank you. Go to Councillor Laurie.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just keeping with the theme on snow removal, again, we're getting some great updates coming out through the website and through the information that's posted on there. One of the questions that has been posted back to me is in relation to the residential and neighborhood rotation list. There aren't any estimated dates for, I guess you'd call them not in progress subdivisions. So for example, looking at it right now, it's saying that Crew 1 is in progress in Greybrier, and then it has the completion dates, or Crew 2, it says will continue January 13th in Woodlands. But then the remainder of the subdivisions are blank. And so the question I got asked was, if we want people to make sure that they're moving their vehicles and they're prepared to be ready for the snow removal to come in, it would be beneficial if we at least had forecasted or estimated dates in which crews maybe in these areas. So I'm wondering if there's any way, are we able to add those type of forecasted dates on there with a caveat saying, subject to change based on, volume, workload, snowfall events, et cetera?
Okay, that's a good question. Go ahead, Administration.
Through your worship to Council Laurie and all of Council, first off, thank you for the comments on the crew's efforts. I certainly do pass those along, and I've heard those from other members of Council. So thank you for making sure to highlight those. To your question directly about the scheduling, so a couple of things I'll pass on that I've spoken to the supervisor and manager about. Principally, there's been a lot of snow. The teams are going. I actually heard this from a couple operators. They're going slower than they would like. It's made it very difficult for the crews to supervisors to give accurate information. And one thing that we do principally try and put out is information that we can reasonably project that will be, some semblance of truth that we're going to hit those dates. We don't want to keep updating the website with different times. Those can create different questions back to administration, up to different areas. So right now the supervisor is daily, I'd even go as far as say every couple of hours trying to get updates of where they're going so he can project for these updates. That's certainly I could take that comment back and see if we can improve, maybe give people a little bit better peace of mind of when we're going to be in certain areas, because I do appreciate that we want to give people as much notice as possible when we go and we do this work. So that's something I'll take back and I'll talk with them, see if we can improve this a little bit, but we're hitting a couple of challenges, which is the volume, and to give certainty at the same time has been a bit of a challenge.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I guess maybe one of the ways that we could do that is, given the volume that we're seeing and the challenges that the crews are having so far, do we have a general estimate on a time it may take to complete the residential clearing? Are we looking at a period of, say, 1 more week, 2 more weeks, 3 more weeks? Is there at least a general for that?
Go ahead.
Through your worship to Council Laurie and all of Council, spoke to the supervisor this afternoon about that very subject. So the short answer is we're looking at least 2 weeks for now to get through everything, possibly a little bit more. So there's some considerations. It's how much we want to continue to leverage contracted services. Do we want to go a lot faster, or do we want to pull them back a little bit and aim at a certain date? Right now we're aiming at 2, maybe 3 week mark. Trying to go as fast as we can. Again, trying to get those updates out, make sure people know we're coming. So that's the best I have right now. But like I said, the supervisor and the manager are on top of this, and they are trying to push this as long as they can.
Thank you. Anything else? Appreciate that. Moving on to Councilor Niebergall.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will echo kind of what my colleagues have said here, where I did receive very positive feedback in terms of the timeliness, recognizing the large accumulation of snow over a short period of time in the midst of holiday season. So shout out to your team there. And then also just a few touch points here. Just recognizing and acknowledging the passing of Glenn Hall and all that he's done for our community. Additionally, it is, I believe, that we are headed into minor hockey week. So if you swing by our arenas, cheer on our local teams there. And then just in terms of the board, the Pioneer Museum, there is the change there. The new executive director is, oh, I need to go back, sorry. Heather Monahan, thank you. David is phasing himself out. And then also there was another loss that was just before Christmas there from the board. So condolences to Ken Ziegler's family. He passed, long-standing volunteer with the Pioneer Museum. So just thoughts to those families and friends experiencing loss. And I did receive a somewhat informal communication regarding some advocacy around the arena. And so in going back and forth there, the resident will be kind of putting together a more formal communication for us. So I look forward to receiving that. And additionally, I have some traffic updates that I will pass along as well, just with the construction and everything happening at John Paul II there, and what's a little bit tricky getting in and out of there apparently. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Councillor Niebergall. Moving on to Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Niebergall mentioned the retirement of the executive director over at the Pioneer Museum, and something I had to point out as well. Certainly David has made a tremendous contribution to the Pioneer Museum with his leadership. We've seen expansions to new exhibits and galleries and storage and post-secondary partnerships and so on. And so certainly congratulations to him on his retirement, but I think we'd be amiss if we didn't recognize his contribution to the Pioneer Museum and our community at large, and we're certainly grateful for his investment and hope he'll stick around a little bit in his retirement. And so thank you to David for his years of service. And then gratitude as well. First time meeting, I think, since the Kinsman hampers were put together and distributed. Certainly another tremendous year, tremendous response from our community, and went through the Kinsman page today to see if I could put together a list, but the list got too long for me to bring forward this evening, because it seems that nearly every organization and every individual in our community is involved in some capacity. And so certainly gratitude to our kin and their families for all of the work that goes into that. And certainly the work never stops for them, because they've already put out looking for volunteers for Farmers' Days. And so from one to the next, but certainly a lot of appreciation to the Kinsmen and all they do in town.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you to my fellow councillors. You guys basically covered it all. The only thing I would maybe add is an appreciation to the patience of our residents while we do a very good job a very challenging job on the snow clearing. So thank you to administration and the crews out there doing that, and to our residents for their patience while we get the job done.
Okay, thank you. And actually, I have nothing more to say than just to thank our residents. I've been around the community quite a bit over the last couple weeks through family events and functions and just meeting with residents. I just want to thank the residents for clearing some of the fire hydrants around our community. As you drive around, I think one of the stats is that if a fire hydrant can't be found, it adds minutes, which could be life-saving minutes. And definitely those residents that do have a fire hydrant in front of them, please, if you haven't done so already, please help us out by clearing those fire hydrants. And I also want to thank all the residents that have not pushed snow onto the residential roads. I definitely appreciate the fact that, sometimes there is a lot of snow like we've had over the last 2 weeks, and there is no place to put it, so it has to go onto the road. But if you do have the ability to take it off the road and not put it on there and like back onto the grass. That'd be appreciative. Usually our snow policy measures snowpack, and that is usually on a drive lane on a non-residential area, so it would be like in front of sorry about that, I forgot about snowpack that's in front of a mailbox or something, so that we don't have residents throwing snow on there. So that's usually how our snow policy is measured in terms of residential clearing. So we just ask that members of our residents, if they can't help it, not to put additional snow onto the roads, because that will help with the traffic and allows our residents to get back, and also help our crews to get the job done quicker and more efficient. So with that, that ends what I have to say, but I think Councillor Pletchko raised his hand, so do you have something else to add, Councillor Pletchko?
Yeah, sorry, Your Worship. I hadn't heard anybody say it, and I'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about the Family Fest that went on this year. It was a phenomenal event that brings a ton of people to our community, and the volunteers that come out and do a job there, it's exceptional to what they can do. I watched them pile of popcorn at the one end, and talking to them early on in the evening, they were a little bit worried that they weren't going to have enough people come for popcorn. By the end of the evening, they were making bags and bags of it again. So, you know, that event doesn't get going really till just about the last hour before it goes, and then it is full swing just as we're starting to wind things down. So kudos to everybody that was there, and kudos to our team that put that on. It's a well-attended event and something that many, many people look forward to in our community. So congratulations to each and every one of them that was there.
Nice, thank you for bringing that forward, and definitely through those conversations, a lot of the members and volunteers saying that because of the weather, a lot of people stayed outside longer too than instead of coming in, so there was that panic. We have all these hot dogs and hamburgers and nobody's coming in. But in the evening, the majority of it was all gone, so that was good to see. And I would actually like to add to that as well, because I received quite a few messages from people that were down there. That was one of the best fire shows that we've had in terms of fireworks. So kudos to the company that did it. And I said every dollar that we can get and a few extra fireworks will be appreciative to whoever did it. And that does make our community smile, because it was a beautiful evening for that. With that, that ends our council discussion. Moving on to closed session. We have nothing scheduled tonight. So moving to adjournment, we will be adjourned. So good job, ladies and gentlemen. I know there was a lot of reading in terms of the Community Standards Bylaw and all the changes that are recommended by administration. But it is well worth the read, because as mentioned, it usually sits there for about 4 to 5 years for a community to reap the benefits of that bylaw. And as mentioned by our manager, we will track any changes and stuff that needs to be done or concerns that are raised through the Community Standards Bylaw, and then they will bring that forward for the next update. With that, we're done. So enjoy the warm weather, because with the amount of moisture in the air, when it gets to -20, it's going to feel like it's going to be -40. So enjoy the warm weather and button up when it gets cold. With that, we're adjourned.